Welcome to qnawire.
This example is walking us through externalities for two neighbors who like different music. We have neighbor A who likes rock and roll and neighbor B who likes opera, and they hate the other person's preference for music. However, these two neighbors who live in an apartment have walls between them which are paper thin, meaning that when one neighbor plays music, the other can definitely hear it. So we want to know here is what externality is present. What we're seeing is a very negative externality of music disturbance. Right? One neighbor plays their music, say rock and roll music, really loud, while the other neighbor is forced to listen to it and they don't like it. They're going to consider that some sort of disturbance, which is a negative externality. Part B here, we want to describe a sort of command and control policy that their landlord could implement in order to try to reach some sort of an agreement. So suppose the landlord specifies some maximum volume that these two neighbors can play their music at. Right? We're going to be avoiding that negative externality in this case because the other neighbor probably wouldn't be able to hear the music then at that point. However, we're not going to see any efficient outcome here because neither income would be able to actually enjoy their music in the way that they want to, because suppose that they like listening to loud music. Well, this maximum volume is going to prevent them from actually being able to enjoy their music at the volume that they like, even though we're going to be negating that negative externality of music disturbance, right? Part C here now is alluding to this Coase theorem of efficient outcomes. And what we know of the Coase theorem is that if there are two parties and they can each bargain some way to reach an efficient outcome that they're both happy with, then we'll be able to actually reach that efficient outcome. So suppose that they were to do this, these two neighbors, neighbor A and neighbor B, what they're going to end up doing is negotiating who gets to play music and who does not, and at what cost is that going to be. So the person who has higher benefits from playing their music is going to pay the other person in order to be able to listen to that music. So the other person who's no longer playing their music, they're going to get paid to listen to the other person. So it's almost this payment for that negative externality. So they're going to get to that by negotiating with one another. However, if there is for some reason a bargain that is not possible between them, then we're not going to see the Coase theorem apply because there would be no efficient outcome possible. So suppose that they are unwilling to pay one another for the other's music, in which case we're going to see a failure to reach this efficient outcome. However, according to the Coase theorem, hopefully these two neighbors, neighbor A and neighbor B, are able to decide amongst themselves who has the greater benefit of listening to their music than the other, and they can compensate the other neighbor for that.